morning, welcome to Frank's School, 35th day, 7th year, first video. Characters for the wordless movie Resurrection. Well, we've got Mary and the old man, Bryn, his daughter, Festus, the blacksmith, Batch, based on Bacchus. Now I want to go on to, I'm going to call her Namma. Namma. I have been calling her Anna. But I was researching a little bit, and I think Namma is maybe a better name for it. She is like, based on a Sumerian, I think it is, goddess, Nammu, not terribly well known. Now, I had gotten her mixed up with Inanna, and a lot of this stuff it's not textbook. I mean, it's not precise. Inanna, who also has the name Ishtar, very much in Sumerian mythology, a goddess of sexual desire. I knew well about Ishtar because of the epic Gilgamesh, but she wasn't the one I meant. Anyway, I looked, and I think Namma might be a better name for it. Also called Nammu from Sumerian. So she also is more than a person, much more than a person. And she's associated with fresh water, not just water, but fresh water, springs and streams, and nymphs and naiads. You're much more likely to, well, that word nymph is fairly common. You probably know it. She has a timbre and an instrument, and it's a folk guitar. I guess she'd have to be carrying it somehow on her back. A folk guitar is small, it's acoustic, and what she ends up doing is supplying a harmony for a lot of the music in this Renaissance band. And her theme would be, I was troubled over that. How do you find music that brings water to mind? It should be easy in a way, but I said earlier that program music doesn't necessarily work for me. Sometimes a harp with all these cadenzas will maybe bring music to mind. Haydn, when a storm arrives in his seasons, he very effectively, musically, shows the beginning of a rainstorm very effectively. But I'm stumped. It doesn't work for me. So I thought, well, the water music, Handel's water music. Now it wouldn't bring water to mind either, I don't think. But for those that were academically minded, they would hear the tunes and might think to themselves, that's the water music, and so there would be, Handel also wrote the fireworks music, and there's an air from the water music. Da 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 da. It's well known, but when I was looking at the water music, I also came across the bourrées, and I thought, now that's a possibility, not to bring music to mind, but a bourrée is a dance. And it's like they're catchy. I guess a modern person wouldn't really know how to dance to that, but so much of Baroque music was based on the dance in all kinds of ways. So there's a bourrée, and then also the most famous part from the water music is probably the part that goes da 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 da. I have a real little story. I'll tell it real quick about that. I think the first time, or one of the first times, I was ever at my girlfriend's house when I was about 16, 17. I went to pick her up for a date, and when I went in the door, it was a gorgeous house. I mean, her dad was an architect, and the music that was playing was the water music. That's what she was listening to. And I don't think I'd ever actually heard it before, but it struck me. I thought, whoa, what was that music? And then later on I married her, and later on I found out what that music was. All right, now how does she arrive? Well, using that transition, going into the old man's eyes, Marion's eyes, and he looks, but this time he does. A normal person wouldn't see it right away because she's not coming up the hill. She's coming out of the woods. And she's a couple hundred yards in the woods, and she's at a stream, and she at the headwaters of Abyss. I call it Grandpa Jim Dam, and she walks down through the Abyss. Abyss is a very narrow channel that brings water out to fields, and it's up there. I didn't make sure I had water in it at the time, That's the way she would approach the old man. And when she actually comes out of the woods into the field, that's where the music could probably break into that dun, 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 dun. Maybe, I don't, I'm just not too sure about this. Well, the Biss ends up delivering water to an aqueduct, a genuine aqueduct that we built, my neighbor and I built with his little backhoe. It's not up on arches, but it's a raised waterway to get water over to the hilltop. And it would be somewhat important, it would be important that she would maybe walk through that and love the water the whole time. She'd have to have pretty tough feet to deal with the coldness of the water back at the spring, but she's a nymph. By the time you get out to the aqueduct, the water has warmed up a good bit. But it's important to be aware of that water in that aqueduct for the use at the coda at the end. Now, I had thought to myself, should she maybe be lesbian? I've tried to cast this very diversely, and I'm not sure about that. Possibly. I mean, when I described it in Portugal, yes. I mean, her arrival there begins with leaving her partner and heading on, or maybe bisexual. I don't know, but she ends up Festus desires her, but she's not available for Festus either. And I thought that might be the easiest way, in spite of how beautiful she is in so many ways, not available for him. That makes two, Bryn, and two beautiful women there, but not for Festus. That woman in Portugal, I describe her more. Well, the one, see, when I first thought of this movie, I was in Portugal, and I started to look at people in general and say, how could you cast a movie like this? And I describe more about how this woman came up to help us, to tell us about a city named Tomar, which she was from, and she was really pretty. One thing I will add, because it's kind of funny in a way, after she had helped us and walked away, Shirley, my German friend Shirley, she and her husband were sitting there at the table, and Shirley says to me in German, "Ein schönes Arsch," nice ass, which was true. And it, I busted out laughing in a way, because maybe Shirley had read my mind. I said something to Shirley about that, and she said, "Nah, I've worked around men a lot," and she knows what men look at. But anyway, she's got to be as dark as Bryn is fair. Long, straight, dark hair. Her skin could or could not be dark. It wouldn't matter that much. But thin, desirable, in many ways like a dark version of Bryn. And for the casting of it, in a lot of ways, I think she would be easy. I know, if I have to think about it, I can come up with more. It's more easy for me to think of women that would sort of qualify that way. The Bryn is the hard one for me in a way. But anyway, Molly, I think of Molly right away. I'll just put her name down. She would be my choice of the people that I know of around here. But I got thinking the other day, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez would be perfect, except that she's too famous. She would probably be perfect for that part. All right, I'm sure I'm forgetting to tell you stuff about Namma, but that's it for now.